Okay, so we just got through the third stanza of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. We're going to go ahead and jump into the fourth stanza. So, fourth stanza. Choose a wonderful new color. This is fine. Okay, fourth stanza. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. So in the third stanza, we just talked about the caged bird, how although he's scared, he is singing his song of freedom, and it's reaching far and wide. Then in the fourth stanza, we go back to that free bird, that metaphor for the white American in the civil rights era. So I'm going to put W-A for white American. And this, when we have a contrast between the caged bird in the third stanza and then the experience of the free bird in the fourth stanza, this is called juxtaposition. Juxtaposition is when you compare two things that are different for a contrasting effect. So juxtaposition between caged and free bird. So that juxtaposition occurs between the third and fourth stanza. So the free bird thinks of another breeze. Yeah, his life is a lot different than our caged bird, right? He's so carefree. The trade winds soft through the sighing trees. Trade winds, when we have a repetition of consonant sounds, go ahead and pause the video, see if you can figure out from your foldable what literary device Angelou is using here with trade winds, that repetition of the consonant D. So go ahead and pause. So the literary device Angelou uses here with trade winds is consonants. I always remember what consonants means because the root of consonants is literally consonant, consonant. So a consonant sound with trade winds. Soft through the sighing trees. Now, can trees sigh? No. That's a human characteristic or a human attribute. So looking at your foldable, what literary device is used? What literary device is where human attributes or characteristics are given to a non-human thing? Okay, go ahead. Tell your dog, your cat, the void, your parent, in 3, in 2, and 1. Okay, back to annotations. So we know that sighing trees is personification. We're giving a person characteristic, sighing, to the trees. Right? So this personification. And the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn. This free bird has life set up to be so easy. Gets to just eat these scrumptious breakfasts on a dawn bright lawn. So right in the morning, the lawn is just gold with sunlight. And these fat worms are waiting for the free bird to just eat them up. So we have a series of words beginning with the same sound with worms waiting. So this is going to be alliteration. And he names the sky his own. Wow. Of course, this free bird names the sky his own. He names this expanse that really should not be owned by anything. It should just be shared with all kinds of birds. But since he has caged the other different bird, he gets to name the sky as his own. How pompous, right? Crazy to think about. And especially when we know that the free bird is a metaphor for the white American. So we know this free bird is oppressing our caged bird. But, moving to the 5th stanza, but a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. So our caged bird, which is a metaphor for African Americans or a symbol of the imprisonment of African Americans through segregation. So this is both a metaphor and symbolism. Our caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. When I think about this grave of dreams, I think about the caged bird's ancestors, right? The slaves. Their dreams were lost. There was no other way to live besides just under the master's command. So what a poignant visual, beautiful imagery here. This caged bird standing on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. So we have alliteration here. And we also have shadow shouts. That's going to be personification. Because a shadow can't shout. That's a human characteristic. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So he opens his throat to sing. Now, this song is a symbol, or it symbolizes freedom. I mean, we know it's heard far and wide. This song can make a difference. So let's continue out on the 6th stanza. I'm going to just make this a little bit darker. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill, or sound, of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. So the caged bird sings with fearful trill. He's afraid. He knows what could happen. He knows of others who have also stood up for their rights, stood against the imprisonment caused by segregation laws, caused by Jim Crow laws in the South. And he knows that people have had bricks thrown through their windows. People have had death threats for standing up for what is right. He's afraid, but he longs for freedom. He longs for things unknown. He longs for that freedom. And his tune is heard on distant hill. It is reaching far and wide. And Angelou is emphasizing this with assonance, with distant hill, that vowel I being repeated in quick succession. For a caged bird sings of freedom. When I think about who also really sung of freedom, the first person that comes to mind to me is Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, we learned a lot about Martin Luther King Jr. when we were reading Freedom Walkers. We know the danger he really was aware of. He knew what could potentially happen to himself and his family because white Americans, those free birds, they wanted to keep the African Americans in those cages. Keep them caged birds, their feet bound, their wings clipped, but he still sung his song. He still proclaimed freedom. The evening of December 5th, 1955. And he galvanized the Black community to boycott those buses. And it was not just one day. It wasn't even just a month. It was an entire year that the buses were boycotted in Montgomery. And really, I think it's so cool just to see this connection because Martin Luther King and Maya Angelou, They were friends. Okay, my wonderful, wonderful, lovely Matadors. If you have any questions or would like to discuss this with me, feel free to email me. So my email is courtney.bellish@mnps.org. Or you can text me with your parents' permission and we can FaceTime to discuss the text or even create a Zoom meeting. So feel free to text me as well. My number is 205-577-2121. Looking forward to tomorrow.